we can put it on YouTube. So if you have an issue with that, just so you know, first, if you want to access the first presentation, we'll be providing that information في الجروب, Facebook group, Moroccan IT professionals in North America. So thank you. Go ahead, Mo. Thank you so much.
Thank you. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. فإخوة الكرام، سعيد جدا أن أكون معكم مرة أخرى في محاضرة حول الذكاء الاصطناعي أو التعلم الآلي. So in the first presentation, or in the first lecture, we talked about the data science. We talked about the data explosion. What is data science? Why do I need to invest in learning data science? We talked about the type of analytics, and mainly we talked about descriptive analytics, predictive analytics, and we talked about diagnostic analytics and prescriptive analytics. كل هذه يعني أنواع التحاليل الموجودة, and of course there are more than these four. And we talked about the data process, data science process. We talked about the day-to-day activities of a data scientist, and of course we talked about the career in data science. So today we are going to talk about the machine learning. So simply an introduction to machine learning. I'm not going to try to cover everything, and then we are going to do a demo. We are going to do a demo of what machine learning could do to us if we were to implement it within our organizations. So today we'll be talking about machine learning, التعلم الالي in Arabic. We are going to talk about the type of machine learning. We are going to talk about algorithms, modeling algorithms, and we talked about the type. We talk about the how we can hyper prune or optimize the hyperparameters of models to bring them to the speed and the accuracy needed to conduct a project. So that is the plan. So I will try my best to cover as much information as we can. But I promise we are going to have another session next week, and that is going to be on deep learning, which is a subcategory of machine learning. So machine learning comes under data science. Deep learning comes under machine learning. So last week we talked about the life cycle. So this is the life of data scientist. This is how this is the life of data scientist. This is the day-to-day activities of data scientists. We all start with a business problem, or a decision that the management wants to make, or the problem or a challenge that they have been facing for long, and they hired you as data scientist, and they're expecting from you to tackle this problem from different perspective and finding a solution, an automated solution. So you are going to have a problem that you will need to work on, that you will be working on. And so the first thing that we got to do as data scientists, once we have a problem, any problem, doesn't matter, a problem that's challenging the organization in general. So we before we think about designing a solution for this problem, before trying to determine the best approach to tackle this business problem, so the first thing that we got to do is to spend time on this problem and try to understand it the way the management stakeholders, the business understand it. So it could take us a month, a week or 2 weeks, month, it doesn't matter. The more time we spend on understanding the data, understanding the problem, the better the solution that we are intent to design. If you misunderstood the problem, most likely you are not going to design a solution. So once you have a clear understanding of the problem, then of course we are going to acquire the data. And again, data science is all about data, all about torturing the data until it confuses to something meaningful to help the management make a better decisions. So we need to acquire the data from data. It could be scattered across multiple platforms, multiple resources. It could be across multiple and structure. It could be structured data, unstructured data, semi-structured data, or quasi-structured data. So the data does not come in a specific format, and the data is not available in a specific location. So you got to learn how to acquire this data, and of course you might not acquire all the data being generated by the organization for its entire life. So you need to acquire only the data that you are going to need to tackle the business that you've been hired for. Unfortunately, if you just get hired, you don't know where the data is. You don't know how the data is being collected. You don't know where the data is being stored. You don't know what the type of data it is. You don't know how good the data it is, how big, how small. So there's a lot of questions that you need to get addressed before you proceed, and you cannot proceed unless there is someone within the organization to help you. So that's why data science is a team sport. You have to have a team, a solid team, with all the expertise you need. So you need, in your solid team, you need someone with the domain expertise, with the business expertise, with the data expertise, and development expertise. So once you have the data, then of course the data that you have, you have hold on. It could be probably all the data that you need. It could be too little. It could be too much data, and it could be just the right data, but it's not in a shape that we need to apply analytics on. No, unfortunately, machine learning, they can take any data regardless, and but the expectation, the output of the machine learning, the accuracy, the quality of the output of the machine learning is relies heavily on the quality of the data that you are feeding into the machine learning. So if you are feeding a garbage into your machine learning, then definitely we are expecting a garbage out of it. So we need to prepare, pre-process, make the data ready. After we explore it, after we understand it, so we could end up normalizing the data, we could transform it, we could validate, integrate, and of course there are a lot of transformation techniques that you could apply to your data to bring it to a specific format needed by the machine learning. So once we have the data ready, then of course now we are ready to deploy, to analyze it using machine learning. And machine learning in general is simply a mathematical equation that takes numbers, does some math behind the scene, and gives an output based on what being understood through or from those numbers. So deploying a model deployment, this is where we are going to get the models. So we will determine the type of models we are going to use. Depends on the type of the data that we have, and depends on the type of the problem we're trying to analyze and to tackle using machine learning and using data. So we could do classification, trying to determine what would be the class of an output or unknown. Then it could be regression, trying to determine the value of an output of unknown. And it could be a clustering if we were trying to determine the structure of the data. So we build a model. Of course, we are gonna build multiple models, not one model. There is one code that I read about yesterday. It says all models are wrong, but some of them they are useful. All models are wrong, but some of them are useful. That simply means that you cannot trust the model, even though it's with higher accuracy, you still cannot trust it. So, to determine the best model for your specific problem you are working on, using the specific data you were able to gather and acquire and prepare, pre-process, you have to try as many models as possible before you determine which model best fit your scenario. So then we need to create models, evaluate those models, and on the a type of data set, and after that we probably share the information with the management, uh, communicate the finding with the management. Then after that we deploy the model into production to and then the cycle continue. So this is the day-to-day activities of data scientist. As you see now, and honestly, since I've become a data scientist, this is one of the best jobs I ever had in my life. Trust me, and this is not my word. This is, yes, I'm talking from my own experience, but these are not my word. No, data science is the sexiest job of the 21st century. It's less stress. So yeah, this is the cycle, and now I will take you through and what needed, what is exactly is happening under every phase, what is happening under problem understanding, what is happening under data understanding, what is happening under modeling or data preparation, modeling, evaluation, and optimization and deployment. So there are a lot of in data science. There are a lot of methodologies that you could use to control and monitor the progress of your work, starting from the beginning of the project all the way to the end. And one of the best well-known, famous methodology is called CRISP-DM. So CRISP-DM it stands for cross-industry standard processing for data mining. It's simply a methodology استراتيجية بالعربي استراتيجية للتعامل يعني مع تحليل البيانات من البداية للنهاية. So it's a methodology that used to monitor the progress of your project, for machine learning project, end to end. And this CRISP-DM has 6 main phases. The first phase is business understanding. And this is exactly the first phase to start with. So before we determine, the solution, before we think about starting designing a solution for our problem, before we think about the data and where to get the data, before we worry about ourselves about so many things, number one, we need to understand the problem first, and that is called business understanding. Under business understanding, which is the first phase that every data scientist should start with and should give a lot of attention, a lot of time, because this your understanding of the business, your understanding of the problem really drives the quality of the output. If you misunderstood the problem, you are wasting my time. That's just to be honest, you are wasting my time. So under business understanding, few things that needs to happen. Number one, you need to determine what are the objectives, what are the objectives behind or by starting the project, where we are heading up. What would be the final end result, and that is called the objectives. So the more we understand the objectives, the more we design a solution that sticks with those objectives. So to determine the business objectives, so number one, we need to transform the problem that was given to us, a business problem, into a quantifiable, into an analytical business problem, a problem that we can analyze using data. So please bear in mind that data science is not a solution to all business problems. There are so many business problems that data science could not do anything, especially those problems that they are not supported by the data. They are not supported data. That is, some of the problems cannot be tackled using data science. Period. You don't have to waste your time. So you need to find them. So number one, you need to find if the problem that you are working on can be analyzed, can be fixed, can be investigated using the algorithms, machine learning, and data science in general. So That is called framing the problem, which simply transforming the problem statement into problem statement is the vague problem that the management discussed with you or they hired you for. That is called business problem statement. So you still need to transform it into an analytical statement. And after and you are working as a team here. You are working with business folks, data folks, domain expert folks. You are not working on your own. Don't do that. I did it in the past, and unfortunately, I missed a big deal. So you always need to work as a team. So data science is a team sport. So once you frame the problem and you assess the feasibility of those framing, you could frame a problem in so many directions. But before you move on, you need to make sure that the framing of your problem is feasible with the business. So it can be supported using the data. It can be supported using the infrastructure of the business. It can be deployed if needed, etc. So you need to make sure that the direction you are taking to fix the problem you've been hired for can be end up being deployed or implemented. And during business understanding, you need to make sure that you understand the business measurement of success. In other words, how would you determine if the project that you will be working on end to end is successful once you turn it in? How would you determine that? If you don't have some rubric criteria to determine if your project is successful or not, then you are wasting my time. You don't need for sure that your project is being successful. So we need to have some measurement in place before we started navigating through the problem. And of course, you need to determine if you will be. You need to determine what type of analytics that you will be using. Are you planning to use descriptive analytics, which simply tries to answer some questions in terms of what happened, when it happened, how it happened? You're trying to understand something that already happened in the past. Are you trying to use predictive analytics, diagnostic analytics, which answers questions in the format of why it happened? Are you trying to do predictive analytics which try to answer questions in the format of what is the likelihood of something to happen, is predicting the future? What is the probability something is going to happen 3 months from now, 2 months from now, 5 days from now, 5 years from now? Are you trying to use this prescriptive analytics that answers the questions in the format what is the best method, the best option to do a business? So you need to identify the type of analytics you are using. And of course, if you are planning to do predictive analytics, then you need to determine your target variable or the variable or the element of the data that you are trying to investigate further down the road. Okay, so all the way to the end, then you need to know your team and you need to know your stakeholders. The definition of a stakeholder is any person, any entity that they have interest in getting the problem solved. كل واحد عنده interest to have the problem solved. They are called stakeholders. You need to identify them and work with them. And finally, working with the team, you need to design your ABT, analytical base table, which is simply a pseudocode of what the data is needed or what the type of the data that you are going to need in the future. So that is the first phase of a crisp DM. So once you are clear, you are good to go with, you completed everything that you need to complete under, in this phase, then now you are going to acquire the data. And when you acquire the data, of course, again, we need to spend more time on this data to help us understand the data correctly. So we are gonna collect the data. We are gonna read the data. In our case today, we are gonna try to read the data into R. and then we are going to try to manipulate, wrangle that data. So we are going to try slice and dice, filter, delete, add, name, renaming, do a lot of that of manipulation to simply put the data into a shape needed for analytics. And of course, we need to understand what type of the data that we have. We need to understand the shape of the data, the correlation of the data, the dispersion of the data, the distribution of the data, and the correlation. So to understand all these type of all these criteria of the data, we need to apply what we call EDA, which stands for exploratory data analysis, simply exploring the data from the quality point of view or standpoint. Then we need to visualize the data. Visualization, and that an image or a picture worth more than 1,000 of words. So that is what data visualization means. It's simply transforming the digits, the numbers, into an image, into a plot, into a plot that can probably convey more messages rather than showing the values. So there are a couple of hundred different type of plotting that you could use, but in the last 5-6 years of my career as data scientist, I used only the six type of plotting, and I'm going to name them. I used bar plot to visualize the categorical data. I used histogram to visualize the numerical data or continuous data. I used the line plot to visualize the time series data. I used the scatter plot to visualize the relationship between two independent numerical data. I used the box plot to visualize the statistical summary of your data, and I used the heat map to visualize the correlation of the data. And so you need to do some data visualization, and we need to apply some statistical analysis by simply understanding the mean, the median, variance, covariance, standard deviation, correlation, all the type of correlations, and also understand the quality of the data. So at the end of data understanding, we should have a clear picture of the quality of the data that we have. So we could, we will, I don't, understanding data would help us to understand duplicate, if any, errors, typos, missing values, outliers, redundant data, irrelevant data, etc. So that is understanding data, and once we understand the data, then of course we are ready to prepare it. We are ready to fix anything, everything that we found irrelevant, we found probably about the data, and we should determine or needs attention or needs some pre-processing and preparation. So now we are going to move to phase number 3. Phase number 3 is simply taking the quality book. Quality book is simply a summary of what you discovered on your data using exploratory data analysis, using data visualization and statistical analysis. So we are going to take that quality book and we are going to use it to determine the pre-processing transformation methods. There are dozens of techniques that you could use to pre-process, prepare your data, make it ready for analytics. So we are going to use preparing the data is simply fixing your target variable if it needs to be fixed, removing dupes in your data, dealing in general with missing values. And there are a couple of options that you could use to deal with missing values, including deleting them, imputing them, predicting them using machine learning, and of course there are a lot of techniques that you could use. Then also we learn how to deal with outliers. Outliers could deviate your analysis. You could bias your analysis. You could deviate it from the reality. So we want to make sure that the data that we are going to use for modeling is duplicates free, missing values free, outliers free, and it has less dimensionality, it has less cardinality. So To fix this type of problems, we could use normalization, factorization, binarization, standardization, correlation analysis, etc. So there are a lot, data transformation. And by the way, you really don't have to use all of this. You could use only transformation method that fits your need. But these are some of the transformations that you might need to try to determine which one is better. And in data preparation, the most important part of it is the moment you start engineering some features and selecting some features. That is very important. That's why I listed them in red, because they are important. For that, I recommend there are 3 books. Unfortunately, yes. Yeah, I have 3 books. I don't know where I misplaced one, but this is one of them. Yes.
Oh, I think your camera it's not working.
I think your camera is black, Mo.
Yeah, unfortunately. So anyway, you are gonna see it in the video. So the one is called data cleaning, and the other one is called feature engineering. Unfortunately, because I have only there's 2 systems fighting for the camera, and the system that I'm using to record, get the priority. But you guys see my screen, right?
Yeah, we can see your screen. Yeah,
That's good. Yeah, that's
yeah.
important.
Yes.
Okay, so after we're done with preparation, we should get a version of the data that is ready to go for analytics. So we started with a pseudocode of what needs to be done, what's needed in the data. We transformed it into features, which stands for raw data. means المادة الخامة فيها عيوب، فيها مشاكل. المادة الخامة probably is not ready yet. فقمنا بفهمها أولا، يعني عملية export data analysis. قمنا بتحويلها إلى plot أو إلى what we call the image plotting or images, not images,
Graph.
graphs. Yes, بارك الله فيك. Yeah, graphs. Yeah, we transform it into graphs or plots. Then we apply some إحصائيات, statistical analysis. Then we have خريطة تبين لنا كل الأخطاء الموجودة في هذه المادة الخامة، كل المشاكل. ثم قمنا بتحويل هذه المشاكل بحلها باعتماد تقنيات like normalization, factorization. في الأخير عندنا نسخة معدلة من المادة الخام. هذه النسخة المعدلة هي التي سوف نستعمل في الموديلين. النسخة اللي بدينا بها raw data, this is all garbage. فيها كل أوساخ، فيها مشاكل، فيها يعني it's not ready. You cannot use this raw data to the modeling. You cannot do that. You could, but I mean you expect nothing but garbage. Yes. Any question, concerns about these 3 phases, please? questions, concerns. ممكن تطرح سؤالك بالعربية، مش مشكلة. Okay, I'm going to take your silence and you are clear, good to go. And now we have machine learning. So modeling is simply machine learning. So what is machine learning? So that is the question probably that comes to your mind, and that is what you're expecting from me to talk about. For the last probably week, you were expecting me to talk about machine learning. So today it's an introduction to machine learning. So machine learning is simply modeling, and modeling, they are simply a mathematical function, a mathematical equation that takes your data in numbers, numeric, and understand the patterns of that data. So the process to build a model is very simple. So number one, we are going to need to determine the model that we are going to use, and this model that we are going to use is already determined from the analytic approach that we decided to apply. If you are planning to do, for example, predictive analytics, then in predictive analytics you could do classification or regression. And if you are doing regression, or if you are doing classification, for example, under classification family, you could find a married a buffet of list of algorithms that you could use. I'm going to list some of them. So you could use decision tree, random forest, bagging, boosting, support vector machine, logistic regression, and they could use k-nearest neighbor, INN or artificial neural net. You could use naive Bayes, and of course there are a lot of models that you could use. So we are going to try them all, and because, as I said, all models are wrong and some of them they are useful. So we need to find which one is useful based on the particular problem that we started with and based on the particular data we are using. So in machine learning is simply, as I said, the mathematical equation that learns from the historical data, learns a pattern, a signal relationship, learns something from the data, from historical data, and based on what this model learns from the data, we could use that something to determine, to predict something in the future. So number one, we need to split the historical data into two parts, into 80% and 20%. So, and we need to build, so this is number one. Number two is splitting the data, and number three, this is something this could be applied, scaling the data, dummy model, building the model. So number three, we need to initiate or import the library for the model. Number four, we need to learn from 80%. We need to learn from 80%. Number five, we need to test what we learned in 20%. And number six, we need to compare the prediction of the 20% to the actual 20%. And after we tried, let's say that we have 10 models, and we are going to try them using the same process over and over and over, we are going to end up having one model that best addresses the problem we are tackling. So that is the process of modeling. And you might think probably that the modeling is the hardest part, but trust me guys, more than 70% of your time, more than 70% would be spent on business understanding, data understanding, and data preparation. This is the hardest time, the hardest part of the entire project. Modeling is anyone can do the modeling, regardless of your data background. My son, 9 years old, could do the modeling. It's easy, it's a piece of cake. Wallahi. The problem is data understanding, problem understanding, and data preparation. So prepare to spend more than 70% in these three first phases of your analytical project. Okay, so I'm going to skip some of these slides. So what is machine learning? So machine learning is simply, I'm going to give you an example so you can understand it. So machine learning is simply a child يعني طفل صغير يعني كي يلعب شاف واحد الشمعة ويدير يدو في الشمعة, and kids they are exploring their environment. They could touch anything. They don't care if it's harmful, if it's poisonous, if it's gonna kill them, it's gonna hurt them. They don't care. They just put their fingers anywhere. So we need to keep watching them. So this child, he saw a candle, and of course, out of the curiosity of the, that was inbuilt in us, he put his finger on the flame, and he got burned. يعني حرقاته دار قام بعملية لمس الفليم فحرقاته. So the child learned the child learned from this incident. That is, so the child could learn two things. The child could learn two things from this incident. So number one and number two. So the child could learn that anything that is red and bright is harmful. Number two, the child could learn the candle is harmful. Okay, so if the child learned anything that is bright and red is harmful, then the child is learning a pattern. If the child learned the candle, then the child is learning the object. So which one do you think best learning method? Which one is probably would be the best outcome from this incident? A child learning a pattern or a child learning an object?
I think pattern is more accurate.
We are not talking about, yes, we are not talking about accuracy. We are talking about which one is would benefit us in the future. أي طريقة أيها أشم طريقة اللي تقدر تنفع التلميذ هذا أو هذا الدري هذا ولا هذا الولد هذا في المستقبل for not making the same mistake.
I think it's pattern because he's gonna learn like a pet. So every time he see that a symbol of that pattern, he will be aware of it. While an object, that danger come from a different object, that different shape.
That's
so
true.
Pattern, it will be much better.
That's true. So the same child was walking, and the next day or 2 days later, he was walking in the kitchen and he saw a stove top. It's red and bright, and of course, out of curiosity again, he wants to discover what is going on here. So before he put his finger on the flame on the stove top, he remembered the patterns that he learned from the incident, and he stopped. He just backed up. So if the child learned the object, so this object does not resemble in any way, in any format, the stove the stove top. So if the child remembered the object, and of course this oven here does not look like a candle, of course he's gonna try again. But since the child remembered red and bright, and this is a red and bright, that's why he did not consider touching the stove top again. Otherwise he will be burned twice. So that is machine learning. Machine learning simply use the historical data, and learn patterns, and use the patterns learned from historical data to determine an outcome on unknown, unseen data. That is machine learning. But here is the problem. Here is the problem with this machine learning. Let's assume that this child only learned the patterns. Okay, so the patterns, anything that is red and bright is harmful. So what if next day, if you brought your child a bright, a red, a game or a toy, or what do you think he's gonna do? Of course, this is bright and red and bright. Of course, he's not gonna use it. He's not gonna play with it. That simply means, even though machine learning, they are learning from the historical data, they are learning patterns. Those patterns might not be wrong 100%, might not be right 100%. There's always a possibility that the patterns that machine learning learned from the data, there's a possibility that they are wrong. They are not 100% accurate. So that is the difference between learning, memorizing an object, or learning patterns from the object. Memorizing the object simply means the child here memorized the candle, the shape of the candle, the flame, and as you can compare this object to any future objects. If they look like a candle, he's not gonna touch them. If they are different than the candle, that's gonna try to explore them. And of course, some of them they could be very more harmful than the candle. So that is called memorization. So the child memorizing, remembering the object. But at the same time, if the child learns the patterns, of course, he wouldn't stop. He wouldn't do anything stupid he wouldn't come closer to any object bearing the same patterns. That object could be harmful, it could be beneficial, like this toy. So that is the difference. That is what machine learning does. It learns. Some machine learning, of course, they do mistake. They learn rather than they learn in patterns from the data, they learn the data itself. They memorize the data itself, and they do very bad on unknown, unseen data. And this is totally different than programming your child. You programming your child is simply you bring him in and you tell him, son, don't go closer to a candle, it's going to burn you. Don't go to a kitchen, you are going to end up harming yourself. So you are programming, you are telling it what to do, what not to do. While machine learning is give it the data, let it learn from the data itself without explicitly programming it. That is machine learning. That's the difference between machine learning, learning an object, and learning patterns, and that is the difference between machine learning and programming. Any question, concern about this? Questions, concerns, please?
If you guys have any questions, please go ahead and ask.
Don't be shy. Okay,
everything's clear, man.
Okay, sounds good.
Can I just mention quick more? So like you said, the pattern and also the object, it's like a good combination to get more knowledge about what's dangerous. So like we can use the same topic for machine learning too.
Yeah, we are gonna talk about it shortly, but you have to only learn the patterns or learn the object. I don't think I'm not familiar with any algorithm that can learn both. The moment you start learning from the object, you are memorizing the data. You are memorizing the object. So you are not actually learning. Simply you are remembering the position of the data, the shape of the data, the value of the data, and when you compare it to a different with the data that does not look like its shape, its position, its value, then your learning is going to fail. So we need to build a system that learns the patterns from the data as much as possible, and we need to make sure that not to trust. We cannot trust blindly the output of the machine learning, because sometimes the machine learning that learns the patterns, it could do a good job in this type of data, but it could do a very bad job in this type of the data. So you need to be very careful. Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So I'm gonna skip a lot of I'm gonna skip all of this. So a lot of sorry guys, I'm gonna skip a lot of this. So question to you guys, the question to you. So how do we, if you were to make a decision, what do you need? And we make a lot of decisions every day. Every day we make probably 100 of decisions. في الصباح واش نغسل اسناني هما الاولين ولا نمشي نصلي؟ واش نمشي نفطر ولا نعيط على خويا؟ واش ندي الولاد للمدرسه ولا نعيط شي واحد يديهم؟ Always you make a lot of decisions and a lot of decisions. How do we make these decisions as a human? So for example, if I am interested, I'm looking for a master degree in data science, for example, and of course I want to make a decision. There is a lot of programs out there. Some of them they are online and remote. Some of them they are physical. Some of them they are credited. Some of them they are not. Some of them they are long, some of them they are short, some of them they are expensive, some of them they are not. How would you make the decision on this type of? So we make a decision by simply acquiring information. So I would call you and ask you, a brother or sister, do you know about this program? Then I'll get information from you. And I call the school, get information. I search online, get some information. That is called decision-based decision. So I'm making a decision based on information. It's called information-based learning. So learning means making a decision. So I'm making a decision to pursue a master's degree in data science using what we call information-based learning. So that is one way of making a decision in our daily life. A second method is called similarity-based learning. So I make a decision based on some similarities. مثلا عندي صاحبي يعني I have a friend and I have two friends actually. واحد فيهم مشى لأوروب أوروبا، واحد مشى اسيا let's say مشى للبرازيل، واحد مشى اوكي، واحد مشى لسبين، واحد مشى للبرازيل. كلنا اصحاب we have عندنا فلوس. واحد فيهم ذاك اللي مشى لفرنسا مشى لاسبانيا he had a good end up having a good vacation، يعني مشى بزاف الحوايج رجع للدار يعني ما وقع عليه والو. Then the other one who went to Brazil لقى المشاكل، تسرق، مشى شجنوه وفي الاخر جراو عليه. انا عندي فلوس الا عندي فلوس الا كنفكر باش نمشي ندير شي رحله. What do you think I should do؟ باش نمشي للبرازيل ولا نمشي لسبين؟ Of course I'm gonna go to Spain. So I'm making decisions by comparing some scenarios, by using similarities and dissimilarities. That is called making a decisions using similarity-based learning. And the third method is using the probability-based learning. تخمين. غادي ندير شنو if I were to make a decision on selling my iPhone or wait 3 months from now, I have to do some probability to determine which one is better. Either sell it now or wait 3 months later. That is called probability-based learning. And finally, there is another learning. If you were to make a decision, خصك أولا تفشل. يعني تقدر مثلا شريتي هوندا اوديسي المرة الأولى ما صدقاتش لك، شريتيها مرة الثانية ما صدقاتش لك، الثالثة you are not going to buy Honda Odyssey. Probably you are going to buy Mercedes or BMW. So you make a lot of errors before you learn. حنا دابا بغينا نديرو هاد المشين learning. We want to use a machine learning that mimic the type of human learning to make a decision. بغينا نخلقو واحد السيستم اللي يقدر يدير لينا نفس الطريقه اللي كنديروها حنا. بغينا شي سيستم اللي help us make a decision based on information. System that help us make a decision based on similarity. And اليوم غادي نعطيكم واحد demo. We are going to do a demo using similarity based learning. This is a good demo and you will have a clear picture of what machine learning or data science in general could do to us. And we need a model, we need an algorithm that could help us making a better decision using what we call probability based learning. And of course we want models. We could design models that learn from the history using error based learning. هاد الطرق الأربعة كاين بزاف ديال الطرق اللي كتحتم علينا احنا كبشر كإنسان باش يعني if you were to make a decision قبل ما تاخذ خطوات يعني قرارات مستقبلية باش كتاخذ قرارات مستقبلية اعتباطية بحال هكاك يعني that's not gonna work. يعني كاين بزاف ديال factors بزاف ديال criterion that you need to use to make a better decision. ماشي تقدر مثلا غدا تقول اوكي I'm going to Spain يعني from nowhere تقدر الصباح هز شانتك والباسبور then you are that's not going to work like that. So كاين تخطيط، كاين بزاف ديال الحوايج كديرهم قبل ما تاخذ القرار، وداك التخطيط غير اما بيزد عندك معلومات ولا كدير كومباريسون بين جوج الحوايج ولا كدير واحد التخمين ولا استفتي من شي تجربه ديال شي واحد ولا ديالك انت اللي فشلات وبغيتي انت تطورها. So these are few type of learning for a human, and we want to mimic this behavior using the math, using algorithms, and using machine learning. Questions, concerns? So if we were to use, for example, I'm going to list some I'm going to list some of the algorithms like information-based learning. We could use decision tree, random forest, bagging, boosting, XGBoost, gradient boosting. كل هذه الالجوريثمز هي كتخدم من منطق information-based learning. Information gain, and we talked about it. Those who are taking my class, we talked about it. Similarity, and this is classification or regression. Similarity based learning هي clustering. كنحاولوا نقلبوا ندير comparison بين يعني السيميلاريتيز هي مخفيه ما كتبانش لينا، هي similarities او تشابه رياضي ما بين elements of data. يعني كاين شي واحد تشابه رياضي لداخل حنا ما كنشوفوش. We want to discover it, to explore it, and based on that similarity we could determine either to go to Spain or to go to Brazil. So clustering analysis, in clustering analysis we could use k-means clustering, k-mode clustering, hierarchical clustering, etc. Probability based learning كاين بزاف ديال algorithms مبنيه على هذا probability based learning. Naive Bayes واحد فيهم is used the probability of an output and the probability of an output given an input. And error based learning, there are some models that are using error based يعني كيتعلموا من التجربة. Reinforcement is a type of learning that is based on error based learning. So these are the learning, the method to learn for a human, the method used by humans to make up decisions in their daily life. And we want to use to build a system that mimic كيقلد. بغينا نبنيو شي معادلة اللي تقدر تقلد البشر في making decisions using information based, similarity based, probability based, and error based. And that is what we're trying to do here. Okay, so I'm going to skip all of this. A lot of information about regression, so unfortunately, and okay, so I think I'm going to stop here. It's a lot of information, and I'm going to give you the slide. Please go through it. So let me take some questions. See if you guys have any question or concern before we move on into a demo. Questions, concerns? Okay.
I don't really have a question. I just want to say, thank you for this, and I think you're really doing a good job. So
thank you, brother Elias. Anytime. اوكي دابا نعطيكم واحد المثال بسيط جدا، وهذا المثال غادي ينفعكم بزاف يعني في تفكيركم كيف انه باش تقراو دراسات ان شاء الله. So let's assume that we are working for an organization. دابا حنا كنخدموا مع شركة، and هاد الشركة هادي they hired you as data scientists, and they are having a lot of problems. They are having a lot of problems dealing with the data. They have a lot of problems figuring out a solution, and they hired you as data scientist. They hired you as a data scientist, and they are expecting from you to help them find a solution to the problem. So let me grab the data first. So please bear with me. Where is my data? It should be okay. The desktop, BBDS, data science journey, training materials, project challenges, conferences, association. There we go. Okay. So this is the data that we have. And this is this data here is a tabular data. As you see, it's a structured data. Means we have rows and columns, and this is a very small data set, and يعني دراسة صغيرة بزاف ولكن سوف توفي بالغرض. Okay, so in data we have here customer ID, we have the gender or the sex of the client, is it male or female, we have the age, and so we have the age of the clients, we have the annual income in thousands. So and this data here was generated from a loyalty program. loyalty program. كاين بزاف ديال الشركات، انا انتم احنا اللي في امريكا كاين بزاف ديال الشركات اللي or retail store or businesses organization we have their own their business cards. مثلا بحال والمارت عندهم البيزنس كارد ديالهم، يعني باش تاخذ داك البيزنس كارد you need to register with them, so you need to be in their loyalty program. مثلا كولز الى الاخوات اللي كيديروا شوبينغ بزاف من كولز، yeah they have their own credit card, store card. ولكن باش تاخذ داك الستور كارد you have to be in the system, you have to be registered in their loyalty program. يعني هاد الشركة هادي they hired you، جابوك انت ولا انت كداتا scientist, and they want you to help them with figuring out the best strategy to reach out, to market, to do some marketing with the existing loyalty clients. So اشنو كنعرفوا على هاد الكلاينتس؟ كنعرفوا عليهم الجندر ديالهم، كنعرفوا الايج ديالهم، كنعرفوا الانكم، and كنعرفوا ديال spending habits. Spending habits is simply a score from 1 to 100. هاد scoring هذا the spending score, it's an aggregated field combining all how many times that you shopped with us, how much money you spent with us, how many items that you purchased from us, and so it's simply a score to determine your behavior, your business behavior or your purchase, your buying behavior with us. So الشركة دابا عندها مشكل ديال بغات تصيفط لهاد الناس هادو رسائل عبارة عن كوبونات كوبونز ديال باش يعني باش upsell cross sell upsells cross sell or generate more revenue. What do you think would be the best approach? خلينا نديرو شي دردشة يعني just think about it now. إلا if you are the manager، إلا كنت انت المانجر ديال هاد الستور هذا ولا ديال هاد المول هذا and you have a marketing department that working for you وبغيتو تصيفطوا الكوبونات لهاد الناس هادو، اشنو هي and of course إلا صيفطتي كوبون ديال $30 30% off, of course you are losing money. If you don't send this coupon, you are losing money. If you are sending a coupon for 5%, you are losing money. If you are sending coupons for 10%, if you are losing money. اللي درتيها وحلا ما درتيش الماركتينج you are losing money. درتي الماركتينج you are losing money. What do you think would be the best approach to minimize the cost of marketing and maximize the revenue out of the marketing? Thought? Think about it. يعني just فكر فيها شوية وهذه تلقى you could find a better solution.
For me, it depends to the product. We can like target female or age range, depend to the products we're selling.
Let's say that I mean it's one product. هذا احنا مثلا على الايفون. So you are seeing iPhone 12. iPhone 12 anyone can buy it regardless of the age. 16 عام يقدر يشتريه، 70 عام تقدر تشتريه. So it's not actually related to a product, and it's not related to the age, and it's not related to gender.
we can نقدر نقول لهم إلا شريتي مثلا خلصتي one time نقدروا نعطوك كوبون، ولا إلا شريتي جوج نعطوك نص في واحد ولا شي حاجة.
إلا ما تقولها
الكاستمر
كيفاش تقولها لهم؟
ما نقدر نسانديو لهم ليترز ولا شي حاجه بحال هكا
عرفتي شحال
نشوفوا
عرفتي شحال كيخصك باش تصيفط على الاقل يو ار غانا هاف انفلوب، يعني تخسر في الانفلوب، تخسر في الستامب، هاي تخسر في ديك الورقه اللي خصك تطبع،
affiliate
تهايري
units.
شي واحد who's gonna do it. So we are دابا كتضيع فلوس في ستامبس، كتضيع فلوس في البرنت اوت، كتضيع الفلوس في فسميتو في داك السيد لي وداك السيده اللي غيتهاير باش do all this process for you. So you are maximizing the marketing fees, the marketing charges.
They can get a coupon after reaching a certain amount of spending score.
So how do you determine that?
By points, like let's say for instance, if they're like buying every time they get a certain point for each dollar that they spend, and after spending a certain amount of dollars, then they get a certain coupon.
It could be, but trust me, I don't think this type of solution, this type of problems can be solved rather than with anything rather than using machine learning. Here comes the machine learning. Machine learning is going to solve this problem for us. Only machine learning can solve it, and now I'm going to show you how we could use machine learning to solve this particular problem. Are you guys ready?
Yes.
Good.
Yeah.
So I don't know how familiar you are with R. Please forgive me if you are not familiar with R. That is, I will be happy. I will be more than happy to conduct multiple one-to-one sessions to help you learn in R. So, Si Shakib, if you were to just do some survey, إلا بغاو الإخوان ديال المغاربة بغاو يديروا الR, I can do multiple one-to-one sessions إن شاء الله بحال هادو. We could do it for the next 3 months every weekend. ما عندي حتى مشكل. So yeah, let me know what you guys wants to learn next. إلا بغيتو تعلموا الR ندير معكم الR، بغيتو تعلموا البايثون، بغيتو تعلموا تابلو، باور بي اي، any rapid miner، كاين بزاف ديال tools that I can teach you and it's going to be free. No, you are not going to pay anything. So if you are not familiar with R, please forgive me. I know you'll be confused, but that's fine. Okay, so the first thing we gotta do when we this is R. It's called R Studio, and of course I am not gonna go through it to explain what is R Studio. So this is simply an open source programming language. It's called R, and it's used for statistics. So the first thing I'm gonna do here is I am gonna read. So in this data that we have here, of course I don't think I'm gonna need everything. Some of these features here they don't mean anything. One of them is customer ID. Customer ID is nothing. It's simply a generic random, simply a random value. It could be from 1 to whatever number of customers you have in your system. So it does not mean anything. It means nothing to us. So
Yes.
and it wouldn't be added. It wouldn't add any value to our analytics. So you need, and you are going to develop this once you are a data scientist, an experienced data scientist. You know the field or the columns that you should keep for the modeling, for machine learning, and you know the field that you should not keep in the modeling. So we are going to remove this. And I don't think this one, general or generic would be included because they wouldn't add any value. I don't think age should be included
Yes.
also. So we only need to include 2 variables, the income and the scoring. So of course you could try others, as I said, all models are wrong, some of them they are useful. All models are wrong, some of them they are useful. So we need to determine the one they are useful to us, and to determine the ones that they are useful to us, we need to determine the type of the data that we need to feed into them to probably get us an outside and an insight. So
Brother Mo, here the spending score is the target variable.
no, there is no target variable here. We are not trying. This is type. This is a. So This is a learning using similarity. This is a learning using similarity. There is no target variable. So,
So in similarity, there is no target variable
yeah, and
when we do similarity.
Since you are taking the program, you are going to learn that it's called unsupervised learning. So we don't have a target variable.
Yes, it's unsupervised learning.
We
Yeah.
don't know. So simply, the management wants us to learn, to help them design a better marketing strategy. We are not trying to predict something. We are trying simply to find a similarity, similar structure within the data. دابا شنو كندير كنحاول نقارنوا بين داك الشخص اللي مشى لاسبانيا مع داك الشخص اللي مشى للبرازيل so I can make a decision. غير اما غادي نمشي في next month، غير اما غادي نمشي ندوز الفاكيشن ديالي في اسبانيا ولا غادي نمشي ندوزها في البرازيل. So and I have the data from my friend who went to Spain, and they have the data from my friend who went to Brazil. Then now I want to find the mathematical similarities between these two scenarios, and based on that I could make a better decision. That is why we're trying to do here. So we have a lot of clients. They've been shopping with us. We know know their age, we know their sex, we know their income, and we know their spending habits. So we want to build a strategy based on what we know about the clients. So this is what we know, but of course there are behind the scene there are a lot of hidden similarities and dissimilarities. So we are going to use mathematically we are going to use Euclidean distance to find which elements they are closer to one another and which element they are too far from one another, and based on that we can group them based on how close they are to one another. That is why we're trying to do here using this unsupervised learning. So if you don't know what's supervised and unsupervised, that is another terminology that I will be happy to explain later, if in a different inshallah in the future lecture. Okay, so we are going to use R. Now we are going to read the data. So we are going to read the data. And here we go. So we got the data. عندنا دابا 200 زبون 200 observations 200 observations or 200 زبون وعندنا 5 variables 1 2 3 4 and 5. Let's take a look in the data. So this is our data here. We got customer ID, we had January, age, annual income, and spending habit. So the data has been loaded into this open source programming language called R. So after that, of course, we are not going to need these yellow animals here. We are not going to need all of it. We are going to only need the annual income and spending, and that is what we are telling it here. We are telling it, please keep only. So when the data was read into this open source, this R, it works on them to find an element. To find an element of your data, we need to determine, we need to know, we need to identify its index. So for example, customer ID, R does not know it. It knows the index. So customer ID is being stored in index number 1. General, it's in index number 2. Age is index number 3. Annual income index number 4. Spending index number 5. So we want the annual income and spending. So we are going to tell it, please give us only index what? Index number 4 and index number 5.
4 and 5.
So that is what I'm doing here. So I am going to override my data, which is 200 observations and 5 variables, to a data with 200 variables and only 4 and 5. And now, how many variables do we have? We have 2. Let's take a look into the data again. We have only annual income and spending score. So now we got the data ready. And after that, we are going to do I'm gonna skip all of this. This is a lot of information, which I know if you don't have any background in R, you'd be lost. Okay, after that, what we are going to use here is we are going to use machine learning. So to use machine learning, we are going to import the machine learning that we are going to use. Machine learning is simply a model. So and the model is a mathematical equation, a mathematical function built in R or built in Python. So we are going to import. We are not going to invent the wheel. We are going to use the libraries that someone developed for us, and have it available online to use. So we are going to import. It's a library called So let me see. 15. Yeah, so the library that we are going to use, it's called I believe not this one. It's called K-means. So that's the library we are going to use. So please forgive me, I am not going to explain the codes because I know you might not be ready yet. And by the way, R and Python, they are very, very easy to learn. When I started my journey as data scientist, I have no clue whatsoever about I don't have any experience, any knowledge. I know nothing about R and Python. And I had a bachelor's in computer science. I hated so much programming. So, but I feel in love. I love the R and Python because they are easy to use, easy to learn, and there are so many packages that you can use right on fly. Okay, so this method here, it's simply telling us how many groups or how many segments that we could group this all the clients into, and this is called the elbow method. And based on this elbow method, it simply looks, what it does. It looks into it does use Euclidean distance, and it find out that all these clients could be split into 5. The elbow, this is a 5. You see, you got 1, 2, 3, 4, and here we have 5. So the optimal I would say optimal number of clusters that we need to create is number 5. So that is what we are going to do, and that's what I'm going to do here. Determine optimal functions fit. Okay, here we go. So now we are we are going to import a package. It's called K-means. K-means is a model, is an algorithm that was designed for similarity learning. Decision tree was designed for information-based learning. K-means, K-mode, and hierarchical clustering analysis, they are type of models designed for similarity-based learning. So I am going to use the K-means, and K-means requires some parameters. Number one, it does require the data, so we need to give it a data which is we are going to give it 200 observations with 2 variables, and we need to create 5 clusters, and we need to try 300 times before we determine the best clusters. So that's what we are going to do. Okay, so now we learned something, and now let's take a look into what we learned. Here we go, and now let's take a look. Here we go. Can you guys see this picture? Hello guys, can you see this?
Yes.
So
Yes.
this could be nothing to you. This could mean nothing to you at this point of time. But let's take a look. So we are going to take we are going to take a few numbers. So we are going to take, for example, 195. Let's take 195. We are going to take, let's say, 163. We are going to take 194. We are going to take 122. And we are going to take 28. Okay, we are going to take for each. So this is cluster. They are groups. So we have one group, we have second group, third, fourth, and fifth. So دابا غادي نمشيو للداتا اللي عندنا وغادي نقلبوا عليهم. Okay, so 195 195 هي فيميل، هي كتخلص مزيان، هي كتشد مزيان يعني 195 غادي نديرو لها هاي باي. She's making a lot of money. Okay, H for high. ويلا عندها 16 يعني very low. High pay. So she's making a lot of money. And let's make it this way. She's making a lot of money. High money and less. She's spending less with us. So غادي نعطيوها HL. High money. H is high money. L stands for low spend. Okay, clear? Question, concerns about this?
Yes, it's clear.
Okay, let's take 163. 163. هذا is making a 163. Hold on. Yeah, actually this is wrong. So this is wrong. So 195 first. Let's do 195 one more time. So this is 195. 195. So she's making $92, and her score is very high money. She's making a lot of money, and she's spending a lot of money with us. 163. 163. Here we go. هذا 163. So I'll make sure that I'm doing this right. So if we were to do this, now the 163, it's high money, and she's spending very low. Then 194, actually this is 194. يعني yeah, I'm doing something wrong. Yeah, please bear with me. I know I'm doing something wrong. So let's do 190 instead of. So 190 190. This is 190. Yeah, I'm doing now I'm doing something wrong. Okay, let me do this. Okay, so let's start over. So we have here 195. 195. It's all the way. So 195. So it's making a lot of money, and so it's making a lot of money and spending less with us. So this is a lot of money, high money, low spend. And غادي نشوفوا دابا 163. 163 is doing let's take another one. How about 125? 125. Okay, 125. So less money, high spend. So this one is less money, high spend. 28. Less money, less spend. So this one is less money, less spend, and it should be high money, high income, high spend. High income, and this one should be normal. اوكي دابا عندنا هاد الخريطه هادي اش غادي نديرو حنا يعني كمانجر you know if we were to minimize the spending, the marketing spending, charges and fees, and maximize the income, maximize the revenue. دابا بحال هادو مثلا هادو كيديروا they are spending money with us, they are making a lot of money, they spend, so no discount, so no discount, nothing, ما غاديش نتصلوا بهم، ما غاديش نصيفطوا لهم. Then we saved a lot of money, so we saved money out of this. هادو كيتخلصوا بزاف، ولكن يلا كيدير shopping, little shop, they do small business with us. قدروا مثلا يعني إلا أعطيناهم ربما 20، we are gonna give them 20%. نعيطوا عليهم ولا نصيفطوا لهم ايميل ولا نصيفطوا لهم كوبون فيه 20%. هادو they are making داكشي اللي كيديروا ربما whatever they make they are gonna spend it with us. I think we should give them 5%. هادو less money، يعني ما كيتخلصوش مزيان وما كيديروش شوبين معنا مزيان، نقدر نعطيهم 10%. هادو no discount. So we started with a lot of data, we started by a lot of data. We have no clue what it is. We started with we know what we are doing. We're spending a lot of money in the marketing. We are giving someone a discount that does not deserve, or we are not giving someone a discount they deserve. So, and we are losing a lot of business. And now we hired you as data scientists, and because you implemented machine learning, we have a beautiful, better strategy to help us make a better decisions for the business. So now we are maximizing the revenue. We are minimizing the charges or the spend, the marketing spend. Any questions, concerns about this? Questions, concerns about this? Okay,
it's clear.
Anyway, that's simply an example. I could have done a lot of demos here to explain what machine learning could do to us. Machine learning is everywhere now. Either you learn it or you are gonna miss the bus. Either you learn data science, machine learning, deep learning, and all technologies around it, or you are gonna be a victim of these technologies that they are consuming the jobs. They are taking the jobs from us. So instead of now hiring 2 or 3 people, marketing specialists doing the marketing for us, I am going to hire 1 data scientist doing this for us. That is how we are losing the jobs. This is how the machine learning are taking jobs from us. So the choice is yours. Either you invest in educating yourself in data science. You don't have to take any program and you don't have to spend any money. Simply put some effort. There are a lot of resources online that you could learn from. So either you invest in those resources or simply prepare to become a victim of automation 2 or 3 years from now. That's it, all I have for today. I'll see you guys.
I have a question here, brother Mo.
Yes.
واش نقدروا نديروا نقولوا هذا ديب ليرنين ولا اي ولا هذا الاكزامبل هذا الديمو هذا؟
Simply cluster analysis using machine learning. It's not deep learning. We are going to talk about deep learning next week.
Correct,
So
thanks.
deep learning is a subset of machine learning, and it's used for complicated problems. Like إلى عندك 5 مليون ديال فيديو ولا عندك 10 مليون ديال تصاور وبغيتي processing. Machine learning is not going to help you. Machine learning is not built for this type of data. So we need to use a different subset, more advanced. It's called deep learning, and that is what we are going to use. So next Sunday, inshallah, يلا بقينا في الحياة, I'm going to do a demo. Inshallah, I'm going to do another lecture on deep learning, and we could do a demo on let's say cat and dog. عندنا واحد 10,000 صورة ديال القطط والكلاب. يعني we want to build a model that they can differentiate between them. So yeah, we could do that inshallah next week.
Thank you.
You are welcome.
Thank you.
You are welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, brother. Thanks a lot, man.
Okay, folks. Any questions, any concerns? Do you guys you guys tell me what do you want to learn next? I'll be happy to prepare a lecture on it.
Brother Mo,
Yes.
do you think it's going to be easy to understand the language of R and Python even if we don't have any background or experience before?
Yeah, let me be honest with you, brother. No one come to the world with knowledge. So for sure, if you put yourself into it, you are going to learn it. R and Python, I don't think they are as hard as you can imagine compared to Java, C, C++, or other all programming languages. This is an easy programming language. Anyone can learn it. Anyone can learn it.
Okay. Just I have a bad experience with C++.
If you have a background in C++, I think it's going to be a piece of cake.
Okay.
Very easy to learn.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
I think someone else was asking a question.
Sure.
شي واحد آخر عنده شي سؤال؟
Okay, folks, going once.
Mo, I have a question here.
Yes,
Shakib. الداتا اللي تعاملتي معها دابا it's more like a relational data. إلا كنتي كتعامل مع data like timestamp or maybe what do you call it? The sequencing, DNA sequencing data type. I don't know if you're familiar with that.
Yes,
what can you use the same يعني deep learning, machine learning?
The sequential and time series data. For the time series data, you could use both deep learning and machine learning. So there are a lot of time series machine learning techniques, like I'm going to name few. MA or moving average is a model that you can use for time series and sequential data. Auto regression data model, you could use it for this type of data. ARIMA, auto regression integrated moving average, or ARMA, auto regression moving average. There are a lot of models that you can use. If you were to use the machine learning, If you were to use the deep learning, you could use RNN, recurrent neural net, which simply with short memory, what do you call it? Long memory, short memory technique that you could use. So again, you could use machine learning. You could use deep learning. Depends on the capacity of the system you are using. Machine learning requires less memory, less capacity, and it could be faster, but it does not handle a complicated data structure. Deep learning, it does not require, it might not work in your CPU. You need a system called either GPU, graphical processing unit, versus CPU, central processing unit, which most of the computers come with. So the deep learning, it handles more complicated data structure. It's very slow because there's a lot of computation behind the scene, but it's more accurate than the machine learning.
Okay, thank you so much.
Yeah.
All right, just I'm going to stop the recording right now. Okay, and all right, let me just stop the recording. And for next week, are we good with the same time?
Yeah, it's totally up to you guys. I would recommend you from your brother, to do a survey, see what they want to learn, and let me know ahead of time so I can prepare. If you guys want to
Okay.
continue this, I'm ready to do a deep learning, a lecture on deep learning, inshallah, next weekend. Apart from that, if you guys want to learn anything related to data science, I'm ready. And it's going to be
Yeah.
free, so please share the word, and let's share the knowledge.
Okay.
يعني,
The reason I asked is because we have some people in Morocco and Europe that were willing to join, but they weren't able to join, because that's why I put it a little earlier, and then I had to push it back. So I was wondering if you're available earlier next week. We can do that.
Yeah, we could do it at 5 inshallah.
5 inshallah. Okay, inshallah. Thank you.
Okay, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Thank you guys. Bye.
Bye.